Hey everyone, how are you? In this video, we are going to solve the Leetcode problem of the day, and the problem is number of subsequences that satisfy the given sum condition. Now the problem category is of medium level, but I would say after watching this video, after I explain you the problem, the solution approach and the intuition behind it, it is going to be very easy for you to solve. Now the input given in the problem is an array of integers, and let us call it as nums, and there is another integer which is target. So there are total two inputs, nums, an array of integers, and target, which is an integer. Now the output you need to give is the number of non-empty subsequences of nums. This nums is coming from the input. So you need to find the number of non-empty subsequences you can create of the array nums which follows a certain sum condition. That's what the question is. How many number of subsequences you have that satisfies the given sum condition. So what is this sum condition? If the maximum element in your subsequence plus the minimum element of your subsequence is less than or equal to the target is given in the input. So the sum condition is it should be less than or equal to the target. If this is a valid condition, if this condition satisfies, then you can count that particular subsequence. Now the question says that the number of subsequence you create can be very large, so you need to return the answer or the output with mod of 10 is to power 9 plus 7. Let us try to understand the question with few examples. Let us say in the example, the given nums array is 3, 5, 6, 7. There are 4 elements in your array, 3, 5, 6, 7. The target is 9. So basically this is the input, and the output for this given input is 4. 4 means that you can create 4 subsequences from the given array nums such that the condition, the sum condition is valid. That is, the maximum element in your subsequence plus the minimum element in your subsequence is less than or equal to the target, which is 9. Let us see what are those subsequences you can create. And first of all, just in case if you don't understand or if you have some doubt on what is a subsequence of an array is if you choose some elements of your nums array in the given order, then it is a valid subsequence. What I mean by this is, for example, 3, 6 and 7 is a subsequence. 3, 6, 7 from the given array nums is a subsequence. That's because I have chosen 3, 6 and 7 from the array nums in the order. In the order means I have followed the order in which the elements are. Going from the left to the right, I can choose 3, 6 and 7, and I can say 3, 6, 7 is a valid subsequence. I can say 3, 5, 6, 7. The whole array itself, 3, 5, 6, 7 is a valid subsequence. Or I can say 5 and 7. Going from the left to the right, going in the order, I can choose 5 and 7, and I can say this is also a subsequence. So basically choosing some elements from your array, you can say that is a subsequence if you choose the elements in order. One of the invalid subsequence can be if you choose 6, then you choose 7, and then you choose 3. Now 6, 7, 3, all these elements are there in your array, but this order is not valid. This is not the same order in which the elements are in your original array. So you can basically choose any elements, but the order has to be the same order in which the elements are in the array. Now let us focus on the example. This is my original array nums. This is my target. I can say I want to create a subsequence with one element. The element is 3. I can say this 3, and this is a valid subsequence from my array. Now is this subsequence a valid subsequence which we can count? So the condition is the maximum and the minimum. If you add these elements from your subsequence, that should be less than or equal to target. My target is 9. My subsequence is 3. This is just one element in my subsequence. The maximum is 3. The minimum is 3. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, and that is less than or equal to 9, right? So this subsequence in which there is just one element 3, it is a valid subsequence which we can count. So that's the first we have. I can also create another subsequence which is 3 and 5. 3, 5, this is a valid subsequence, and the minimum is 3, the maximum is 5, which is 8, which is less than or equal to target, which is 9. So this is a valid subsequence which we can count. So 3 and 5 is also valid. Similarly, 3 and 6 is also valid. I can say 3 and 6. This is my subsequence, and it is also valid. The minimum is 3. The maximum is 6, which is less than equal to 9, right? 9 is your target. So I can say 3 and 6 are also valid. I can say 3, 5 and 6. This is also a subsequence, and in this subsequence, the minimum is 3, the maximum is 6, 3 plus 6 is less than equal to 9. Again, this subsequence is valid. Now, apart from these 4 subsequences, you cannot create other subsequence which is valid. Valid means which satisfies this condition that the maximum and minimum when added is less than equal to the target. For example, you might say, let us select 5 and 6. Is this a subsequence? Yes, it is a subsequence, but this is not valid because the minimum is 5, the maximum is 6. This is less than equal to 9. No, it is not. 11, it is 11, right? So 11 is not less than equal to the target, which is 9. So that is why even though 5 comma 6 is a subsequence, we are not going to count it. We just need to return the number of non-empty subsequences of nums which satisfies the following condition, the following sum condition. Now, one more thing, when I'm saying non-empty, so basically if you have an array of 4 elements, then an empty array is also a subsequence. It is a valid subsequence, but the question says that do not consider an empty subsequence. Do not count it. Ignore an empty subsequence. So that is something you need to keep in the mind. We have to just find the non-empty subsequence. The next example is when the elements are 3, 3, 6, 8 and the target is 10. In this case, the output is 6. It means you have 6 subsequences from this array such that the minimum and maximum element of those subsequence is less than or equal to 10. The subsequences are, you can have just one element 3. That's a subsequence. The max is 3, the min is 3, that is less than equal to 10. Yes, so it is valid. And I am basically talking about this particular element, the element at index 0 in the array. This is one element. I can also say I want to select the element at index 1 and not 0. The value is 3. We already have a subsequence with one element, that is 3. I can create another subsequence with one element, that is 3. But both these elements are different. This one is at index 0. This is at index 1. The values are same, but the elements are different, right? So that is why we can count it 2 times. This element as a subsequence, this element as a subsequence. The next subsequence is, I can say 3, 3. 3, 3 is a valid subsequence because the max is 3, the min is 3, that is less than equal to 10. So I have another subsequence with 2 elements, 3 and 3. Another one is 3 and 6 and 3 and 6. I can create 3, 6 2 times, right? Basically this 3 and this 6 and this 3 and this 6, right? And both these are valid because the minimum is 3, the maximum is 6, that is less than equal to 10. 9 is less than equal to 10. There is another subsequence which is 3, 3, 6. This one. Minimum is 3, maximum is 6, the sum is 9, less than equal to the target, that is 10. So these are the 6 subsequences we can create from this array, but the thing is we cannot create more subsequence. You might say, okay, let us try to create a subsequence which is 3, 6, that is already created. What about 3, 6 and 8? 3, 6, 8. In this case, minimum is 3, maximum is 8, the sum is 11, that is not less than equal to 10, right? So that is why even though this is a subsequence, it is not valid. We are not going to count it. Now we understand the problem, we understand what we need to do. Now the thing is, we need to understand about the number one concept of this problem. We need to count the number of subsequences, right? We also need to make sure that we count non-empty subsequences. Now before we start the actual counting, before we start with our actual logic, we need to know how to count the number of sequences or number of subsequences in an array. Now let me get back to this example, and if I ask you, forget about the condition, forget about this sum condition, tell me if you are given an array, any array, if you are given this array, how many subsequence can you create from this array? That's the first question. Forget about the condition. Can you even count the number of subsequence in an array? And yes, we have a formula for this. The formula is 2 is to power n, where n is the number of elements in your array. I am also going to prove this formula. I am also going to tell you how can you derive this formula as well. If we have 4 elements, the number of subsequence we can create is 2 is to power 4, which is 16. We have total 16 subsequences, and remember I told you that an empty array is also a valid subsequence. So from here I can say this is the total number of subsequence we can create, 2 is to power n. And the total number of non-empty subsequence is going to be 2 is to power n minus 1. This 1 is the empty subsequence, we can just minus 1 and we can say this is the non-empty subsequence. This is the number of non-empty subsequence we can create. So if we have 4 elements, we can create 16 subsequence. I can say minus 1, that is the empty one, and we can say we have total number of 15 non-empty subsequence, and the formula is going to be 2 is to power n minus 1. That's the number of non-empty subsequence we can have when the number of elements in the array is n. Now let me tell you how you can reach out to this formula. Let us say you have an empty array, and if you have an empty array, then the number of subsequence will be equal to 2 is to power 0, right? That is equal to 1. You can create one subsequence from this empty array, that is nothing but the empty array itself. What about a non-empty array? It is 1 minus 1, which is 0. 0 number of subsequence you can create from an empty array which is non-empty, right? I mean, this is just the base thing which you need to understand. Now let us say you have an empty array. This is an array which has no elements, and now if I add one element to this array, and now the array is having one element, okay? So this is now having one element. Try to think about this, try to visualize the fact that with this array, we are able to create just one subsequence, and that is just empty. Okay. After adding one element, or let us say after having one element with us, how many more subsequence can we create? If I have this array, with this I can create just one subsequence, which is empty. Now, if I have one element with me, how many subsequence I am going to have? If my array is this one, you have two choices. The choice is I will add this one element in my subsequence, or I may not add this element in my subsequence. So basically, if this is my subsequence, which is an empty array, I have two choices. The choice is add one or do not add one. If you add one, this is going to create an array with one element. If you do not add one, this is just going to have the same empty subsequence. So basically, when you have one element in your array, you have total number of two subsequence, 1 and 2, an empty and one with one element. So from here I can say I have two subsequence if I have one element, right? For now, do not think about empty or non-empty. Just know that if you have one element, you can create two subsequence. One is this one, an empty array. One is this one, a non-empty array with one element, right? Now let me tell you one more thing. Let us say these are your subsequence. So what I can say now is, if I have this array, I have two subsequence. If I have one more element with me, let us say the element is 2, then I have two choices. I can add this element 2 in my subsequence, or I may not choose to add. If I add 2 to this subsequence, it is going to create another subsequence which is having one element, which is 2. But if I do not add this 2 in my subsequence, then the subsequence which gets created is nothing but an empty array. Now, if I add this 2 in this particular subsequence, it is going to create another subsequence with two elements, 1, 2. And if I do not add this 2 in my subsequence, then what it will have is, it will have just one element in the subsequence, which is 1. Now you will notice that I have 1, 2, 3 and 4 subsequence when I have two elements, right? When you will add one more element in your array, you have two choices. You can add this 4 in your existing subsequence, or you may not add this 4 in your existing subsequence. So basically every subsequence is going to create two subsequence, 1, 2, that is the original one, and 1, 2, 4, that is the new one with this element 4. So every subsequence is creating two subsequence when you are adding an element, and that is why the formula is, if you have one element it is 2, if you have two element it is 2 into 2, if you have three element it is 2 into 2 into 2, and that is why I am saying the ultimate formula to count the number of subsequence in an array is 2 is to power n, that is the total number of subsequence. But the thing is, you just need to count the non-empty subsequence in this question, right? So I can say the non-empty subsequences are going to be 2 is to power n minus 1. That's the formula you need to understand. Now let us proceed, and now let us try to understand how can we think about solving this question. Let us say the elements in my array is 2, 6, 3, 3, 7, 4. These are 6 number of elements, right? Total 6 elements, and the target value is 12. That is, you can create all those subsequences in which the max of your subsequence and the minimum of your subsequence when added is less than or equal to 12. Now the first and very important observation which you need to make in this question is, only two elements matters in each subsequence. You can create a subsequence of length 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, right? But the thing is, only two things matter, only two elements matter, that is the minimum and the maximum of your subsequence. One of the way to solve this question can be, if I know that there are 6 elements in my array, then I can create total 2 is to power 6, that is equal to 64 subsequence, minus 1, that is the empty one, minus 1, that is 63 non-empty subsequence. I can just go through all these 63 subsequences and I can see what is the min, what is the max, add them up, and I can see if that is less than the target, I will count it. But here is the problem. This is having the time complexity of 2 is to power n, and this is going to give time limit exceeded error. So from here we are sure that we do not need to create all the subsequence, because if we create all the subsequence, that is going to impact our time complexity, right? So what is the next thing which I can think? Okay, I know that only two elements matter, the minimum and maximum. Now there is just one thing you need to do and all the confusion is going to be gone. And let me tell you how can you think about that particular solution approach. See, the thing is, right now I don't know if this is my minimum or this is my maximum or this is my minimum in any subsequence, right? If I choose 6, 3 and 7, I don't know this 6 is my minimum or maximum. I don't know if 3 is minimum or maximum. Do you know about any technique so that if you choose, let us say 1, 2 and 3 elements from your subsequence, any 3 element, can you find out which is the max and which is the min? The only solution is sorting, right? If I sort my array and I choose 3 elements, 1, 2 and 3, I choose any 3 elements from my array, then the thing is, the first element is going to be the minimum, the last element is going to be the maximum, and that is always going to be the case. So if you do the sorting, then you will always have your subsequence with min and max in the beginning and in the end. You might have a question that in a subsequence, when we sort a particular data, the ordering of the data change, right? In a subsequence, we follow an order. We can say 6, 3, 7. This is a valid subsequence for this array. But if you sort it, then 3, 6, 7 is not valid subsequence, right? But the thing is, guys, we do not need to find out the actual subsequence. We just need to find out the count. So if a subsequence which is valid is 6, 3, 7 coming from this and this element, if I sort it 3, 6, 7, the thing is, if this is valid, we are going to count it as 1. And similarly, if we sort it, if this is valid, we are going to count it as 1, right? One subsequence. So basically the end result, the number of count is not going to change even if you change the ordering. And if you change the order, what matters to us is the minimum and maximum, right? If you change the order of elements, the minimum and maximum is not going to change. But if you sort it, we know what is the minimum, we know what is the maximum, right? The first is the minimum, the last is the maximum. So that is why sorting the data is going to help us a lot. And now this is our data, 2, 3, 3, 4, 6, 7. That's our array. The target is 12. Now here what we can do is we can say that I know that this first element is my minimum element. So I know the minimum is 2. This particular array is having one element, right? And I know that the maximum is 7, right? The last element is going to be the max. That's it. What we can do, how can we start solving it is, we can say, let me fix one element. Let me fix this element in my subsequence, which I am going to create or basically count. Let me say, I am going to include this 2 in my subsequence. Then whatever subsequence you try to create, the minimum will always be 2, because 2 is the minimum in your whole array, right? If 2 is the minimum, right? So let me fix this element 2. Let us say this is what we are going to include in all our subsequence. Now tell me what are the number of subsequences you can create from this particular array when the elements are 3, 3, 4, 6, 7. So basically when you have 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then the number of valid subsequences are 2 to the power 5, that is 32. It includes the empty subsequence, I know that. But the thing is, I know there are 32 subsequences we can create from this array. And I am saying that in all the subsequence, I have two choices. Either include 2 or do not include 2. I am going to choose just one choice. The choice is I am going to include this 2 in my all 32 subsequence. So I have 32 number of subsequence. And in all these subsequence, I am going to include this 2. When I am including this 2, then tell me what is the minimum. The minimum is always going to be this 2, right? I know the minimum. The minimum is 2. Now, I know there are 32 subsequences. The minimum is always 2, but the maximum will change, right? In these 32 subsequence, when 7 is included, then the maximum is 7. When 4 and 6 both are included, the maximum will be 6 if 7 is not there, right? So we do not know the maximum. But the thing is, I know that in my whole array, 7 is maximum. And if I say 7 plus 2, because 2 is fixed, right? I know 2 will always be there in all these 32 subsequences. Then if 7 is the maximum, then I know that in the sum condition, I have to say min plus max 2 plus 7. This is the maximum value we can create when we say min plus max in all my 32 subsequence. Now tell me, is 2 plus 7 less than equal to target? Okay, yes, 2 plus 7 is less than equal to target because it is 9, which is less than equal to 12. 12 is the target. So the thing is, I don't need to check for all these 32 subsequence. I just need to check that if I fix my minimum element, and I start asking to the maximum element that, hey maximum element, are you compatible with the minimum element? It will say yes, 7 plus 2 is 9, which is less than the target. So we can say, okay, if you are compatible, if you are okay, then all these 32 subsequences are going to be okay. That's because in all these 32 subsequences, the maximum possible element can be 7. If we do not include 7, we actually get total number of 16 subsequences. In that 16 subsequences, the maximum element is going to be less than 7. So the sum condition min plus max, which is 9 when we have 2 and 7, will be less. It will be 2 plus 6, which is 8, right? It can never be more than 2 plus 7, which is 9. So we know that all these 32 subsequences are valid. So basically what we are doing is we are saying this is the min element which we fix, and let us say this is my leftmost element. This is my rightmost element, right? I say that I will include my leftmost element in all the subsequence. Now tell me what are the number of subsequences you can create when you include 2 along with all the elements. So when you have 5 elements, you can create 32 subsequence. You have two choices, include 2 or do not include 2. We are saying we are going to include 2. So we have total 32 choices or 32 subsequence. All these 32 subsequence are going to be valid when this is your left and this is your right. Now the question is, you have got 32 subsequence. Do you have more subsequence? Yes, we have. Now we can say, I know that if I include 2, I try to create all the subsequence in which 2 is there. I have 32 valid subsequences. What if I do not include 2? Now what about the other 32 subsequences in which we do not have 2 included? Alright, so let me get rid of this 2. Let me forget about the 2 and let me say now my minimum element is 3. Alright, Now my minimum is 3. If my minimum element is 3, I fix that I'm going to create a subsequence in which this element is going to be there. So I have 4 different elements now, 3, 4, 6, 7. Using 4 elements, I can create 2 to the power 4, which is 16 subsequence. Now I can say, okay, I have 16 subsequences. I can either include this 3 or I cannot include this 3. These are the two choices I have. And I will say, okay, I want to include this 3 now. I want to make this my minimum element because I have got all the subsequence with the minimum element as 2. Now let me put this 3 with the minimum element. That's the next minimum element in my array because that is sorted. So I have 16 choices, right? I have 16 subsequences. Now let me check if 3 plus 7 is fine. If 3 plus 7 is fine, then I know that all the subsequence is going to have the min plus max less than or equal to 3 plus 7, right? Because this is the maximum we know, and that's the maximum which can be there. I can have 7 or I may not have 7 in my subsequence, but still the maximum value of min plus max is not going to be more than 3 plus 7. Now tell me, is 3 plus 7 less than the target? Yes, 3 plus 7 is equal to 10. So the thing is, if I have this element in my subsequence, I try to create any subsequence now, the sum is less than or equal to 10. So min plus max will be less than or equal to 10, which is less than or equal to target. So I can say yes, if this is my minimum element, all the subsequences are valid. So I have 16 subsequence. If I fix this element, right? Now again, forget about this. Again, do the same step. This is your minimum now. You have 3 elements. With 3 elements, you can create 8 subsequence. Now for all those 8 subsequence, I can say I can include this 3 or I may not include this 3, right? If I include this 3, I want to include this 3. So I can say I have 8 number of subsequence and all are going to be valid because this is the max and this is the min. So I have got 8 more, right? I can get rid of this now. Now when the minimum is 4, let us say this is the minimum. So I have 2 more elements, 6 and 7. With 2 elements, I can create 4 subsequence. With all these 4 subsequence, I can say I can include this 4 or I may not include this 4. I want to include the 4. I have 4 subsequence in which 4 is minimum. I know that 4 plus the maximum possible 7 is 11. That is less than equal to target. Target is 12, right? So I can say, okay, all these 4 subsequence are valid now. All right, this is valid, right? Now forget about 4. This is your next element, 6, which is the minimum. You have 6 as the minimum element now, and you have just one more element, which is 7. With one element, you can create 2 subsequence, right? For all these 2 subsequence, you have 2 choices. You can include 6 or you may not include 6. I want to include 6. All right. If I am able to include 6, that is the minimum element as of now, and this is the maximum. 6 plus 7 is 13, which is more than 12, right? Which is more than target. So from here I can say that these 2 subsequences which I was about to create with 6 being the minimum element is not valid. All right, I know that now my maximum element was 7. It is not valid. So I know that now I cannot include 7 anymore in my subsequence. And now I have to say, let me take this maximum element to this and forget about 7. Because if I try to include 7 now, what will happen? This 6 plus 7 is going to be 13. Or maybe I can create a subsequence with just one element 7 and min plus max, that is 7 plus 7 is going to be 14, right? So basically now I cannot have 7 anymore. Okay, fine. Let me reduce my maximum element and make it 6. All right. This is my minimum as of now. This is my maximum as of now. Now I do not have any more elements left. Using an empty array, we can create just one subsequence, which is an empty array itself. Now try to think about it. I have one element. I'm going to add this in an empty subsequence 6. This is my minimum. This is my maximum. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 is equal to 12, which is the target, and we can take the value which is equal, right? So we are going to count this subsequence and we can say, okay, now I can say 32 plus 16 is 48, plus 8 is 56, plus 4 is 60, and plus 1 is 61. That's the output, right? So that is how you can get the output. You just need to sort the array, fix the first element as the minimum, and try to see, using this minimum element, do I have the leverage to say that this maximum element is allowed? What I mean to say by allowed is, let us say the target value is not 12, but the target value is 8. So 2 plus 7 is 9. So I can say this minimum element is fixed. This maximum element is not allowed. Now if 7 is not compatible with 2, 7 will not be compatible with any other element. That is because other elements are going to be more than 2, right? So I have to say goodbye to 7 and I have to say you are my 6 is my maximum element. Now 2 plus 6 is fine. I can say okay, fine. What about 3 plus 6? 3 plus 6 is 9. It is not fine. Again, now I have to say goodbye to 6. I have to say you are my maximum element, Mr. 4. And this is how we are just going to continue and count the subsequences. So now let me get back to the code editor. Let me try to show the solution for this particular problem. So what we have is, we first have a mod value which is 10 to the power 9 plus 7 because we have to return our result by modding it with this value. Then we sort our nums array, and then n is equal to the length of nums. That is the number of elements we have in the array. Now result, that is the number of subsequence we have, is 0 for now. The leftmost index is 0, the rightmost index is n minus 1. The array is sorted, right? So left is going to store the minimum, right is going to store the maximum value. Now run a loop while left is less than equal to right, and check that if nums of left plus nums of right, that is the minimum plus maximum, is this less than the target or equal to? If it is, then we are going to say result is equal to result plus let us fix the leftmost element and let us find out how many elements or how many subsequence we can create using the other elements we have in our array. So the number of elements we are going to have in our array apart from left is right minus left. What I want to say is, let us say we have the array as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The indexes are 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now if my left is at index number 3, that is the element 3, how many elements do I have from left to right, not including left? So it is 1, 2, 3, that is 4, 5 and 6, right? So basically right minus left index, 4 minus 1, that is 3. So that's the basic thing we have. Right minus left is the number of elements we have in our range from left to right, not including left. So I can say power 2 is to power right minus left, and I'm going to do it a little bit in optimized way. So we need to pass this third argument, that is we are going to mod our result 2 is to power right minus left with mod. So this is how this power function works. So now I can say result is equal to result plus power of 2 is to power right minus left. And now we can also take the mod of result mod, this mod is created here. And now I can say left is equal to left plus 1, because I already have counted all the subsequence I can create with this leftmost value. Let me update my minimum element to the next one. But if this condition is not true, that is if left and right added is not less than target, then I would say this right value is now no longer of our use. Let me say right is equal to right minus 1. And that's the complete logic we have. After this loop, you are going to have the number of subsequences that satisfy the given sum condition in your result variable. You can now submit this code and this is going to pass all the test cases you have. So yes, you can see the runtime is pretty good. The memory used is pretty good, right? So I would say this is a very efficient solution for this particular problem. And guys, I have gone in depth to tell you about everything you can gain from this problem. And that's because I don't just want you to solve the question. I want you to understand all the concepts which you can get from a question, like what is a subsequence, how to count the subsequence, how to count the number of elements between a range, right? All these things you can gain from this particular solution and the question as well. So I think that's it for this video, guys. I have put a lot of efforts to make this video. So make sure that you hit that like button if this video helps you to understand about the question and the solution. And if you are not subscribed to the channel as of now, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well, because we are very close to 1000 subscribers. So it would be a really great motivation if I could achieve that. So that's it for this video, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. I want to see you guys in the next video as well. And thank you for watching this video, guys.